The British royals have been around for centuries, which means there's quite a lot of them. And while we know most of the more famous royals like Queen Elizabeth II or King Charles, there are plenty that have been lost to history. Hi, I'm your host, and this is Royals, where today we'll be looking at 4 forgotten daughters who were erased from history. Mary, Princess Royal. Mary, Princess Royal, was the eldest child of King George V and his wife, Mary of Teck. She would have become queen if she hadn't died at the age of 25. Born in 1867, Mary was an older sibling by 3 years to King George VI, and was known to have a rather close relationship with him throughout her life. She was unnecessarily spoiled due to her gender, as she believed a girl should be able to do anything a boy could do. So she loved hunting and driving her motor car, but it was also felt that she had to be more ladylike than her younger brother. And so she was given piano lessons and was expected to learn French and be proficient in art. And she was very keen to marry for love, rather than for political reasons, which was something that other royals of the time period weren't allowed to do. She had a number of suitors, including a Mr. Peel, who was killed when Mary accidentally shot him while they were target shooting together. A bit of a plot twist there. Then, in 1900, Mary met Prince Henry, Duke of Abergavenny, at a shooting party. The two became engaged, but the engagement was kept secret until a year later when the king gave his consent. Mary and Henry married in 1905 and moved into Kensington Palace, where they set up home. They tried to keep things within the family and asked George, Mary's younger brother, to officiate over the wedding ceremony. It was said that their marriage was not a happy one, and that Mary was often left out of royal events. However, she did attend the coronation of Edward VII in 1902 and George V in 1910. In 1911, Mary gave birth to her first child, a son named Henry George. Then in 1913, she gave birth to another son, John. She continued to live in Kensington Palace with her husband and sons until 1919 when she developed abdominal pains. At the time, it was thought that she may have had cancer. But after an operation, it was discovered that she had an undiagnosed condition called endometriosis. Unfortunately, because of this illness, she was unable to have any more children. And sadly, her health just went downhill from here. She suffered depression and had nervous breakdowns, and she spent more and more time alone in her room. While her husband Henry worried about her, he didn't know how to help her. On March 1919, Mary died from her illness at the age of 25. Her brother, George, was devastated and attended her funeral. He had intended to propose to Mary's sister-in-law, Lady Mary, at the graveside, but after seeing the state of his sister's coffin, he decided against it and instead offered his condolences to the grieving husband. Princess Alice, Countess of Athlone. Alice was the 4th child and 2nd daughter of King Edward VII and his wife Alexandra of Denmark. She was born in 1883 and lived a fairly normal life for a royal. She had 3 siblings, Mary, Queen of Teck, King George V, and Prince John, who had epilepsy. When she was 19, Alice began having what seemed like panic attacks and became agoraphobic. These episodes happened more and more frequently, and she would go into fits and couldn't control herself. She was then diagnosed with schizophrenia and spent much of her life in and out of mental hospitals. There were rumors that the root of her illness came from childhood trauma, as when she was only 14 years old, her mother, Queen Alexandra, died, and King Edward VII became ill and eventually died in 1910. Alice's father then remarried, which may have upset Alice even more. In 1916, Alice fell down a flight of stairs and cut her head. This resulted in her being taken to a hospital, where she remained for the rest of her life. She spent most of her time in the psychiatric unit of the hospital, but she was occasionally allowed to return to the palace. After her brother, King George, died in 1936, Alice's cousin, George King, Duke of Kent, took an interest in her welfare. He began visiting her regularly, sometimes with his wife and daughters. He felt that she was intelligent and interesting and wanted to show the world that she could function normally, despite her illness. He arranged for her to attend the christening of her niece, Princess Margaret, in 1935. During the ceremony, however, Alice had a fit and shouted, "I want to go home," before running out of the church. From that day forward, Alice never attended another royal event. She died in 1953, and is buried alongside other members of the British royal family in St. George's Chapel. Windsor Castle, Princess Helena Victoria. Princess Helena Victoria was the youngest child and only daughter of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. She was born in 1846 and had 9 siblings, including Alexandra, Queen of the United Kingdom, Edward, Prince of Wales, and Louise, Princess of Wales. Unlike many of her siblings, Helena was not particularly close to her mother and felt that her mother favored her brothers. Helena was not particularly fond of court life and preferred living a quieter life on the estate in the country. She enjoyed reading novels, going for walks, and attending horse shows. Due to her plain appearance and quiet nature, Helena was teased as a child and felt that her mother didn't like her very much. She was also told that she had a weak constitution and that she would unlive a long life, so naturally, she was always conscious of her health. Perhaps to try and please her mother, she began taking on more royal duties as she grew older. She attended banquets, opened exhibitions, laid the foundation stones, and visited schools. She was also interested in charities and helped to found the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, now known as NSPCC. She also took on a major role in organizing the 1888 International Health Exhibition in London, which celebrated Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee. Sadly, just a few months later, Helena became ill with typhoid fever and died at the age of 42. Her mother, who was already 78 years old, was deeply affected by the loss of her youngest child and reportedly wept every day for a month after her funeral. Princess Maud Charlotte Alberta. Princess Maud Charlotte Alberta was the youngest child and only daughter of King George III and Princess Mary Adelaide of Cambridge. She was born in 1869 and had 3 older siblings, King Edward, King George, and Prince Arthur, who died in 1891. Throughout her childhood, Maud was extremely shy and struggled to speak. As a result, she received speech therapy for much of her life. She was educated privately at home and was said to be extremely intelligent, speaking multiple languages, including French, German, Italian, and Spanish. She was also incredibly artistic and loved drawing. She had no interest in the royal life and was certainly not interested in marrying a prince. However, her mother and grandmother, Queen Alexandra, felt differently. They thought that Maud should be married off to secure an alliance for Britain. And so, at the age of 25, Maud met her cousin, Charles Edward, Duke of Fife, and the two became engaged. They married in 1892 and moved into Fife's house in London. They had 2 children, a daughter named Mary and a son named Charles. When Maud was 27, she began suffering from depression and sought help from a doctor. He diagnosed her with hysteria and recommended that she take long sea voyages to help with her health. And so the family set sail for the Cape Verde Islands. Sadly, Maud's condition worsened, and she became an invalid, requiring full-time care. So her husband brought her back to London, where she lived under the care of nurses until her death in 1933. Do you know of any other forgotten princesses that should have made it on this list? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.